1970, after what we will all recall as less than a month later, the bidding for the building, jointly done with the Stockton College, as so aptly and profitably suggested by Chancellor Dungan, went underway. The construction began on November 1, 1970. As you can hear, that's less than a year ago, and on September 17th, we opened the college with 1,200 students, about 50% more than we expected to have. I would be terribly amiss if I did not acknowledge at this point the cooperation of the Department of Building and Construction, of Transportation, the Office of the Attorney General, and of the Treasurer, and of the staffs of the Department of Higher Education and of Ramapo itself. They truly were a magnificent group working together. And I can tell you, Governor, that I can't imagine any administration working any better toward the completion of this end than yours did. You should be proud of it. There is one individual who I would like to acknowledge also throughout this entire period when we needed a little help or a little lift, and we got it from many, many people. But one gentleman, a member of the state legislature from Bergen County, Mr. Richard DeCourt, was always a source of strength and help and assistance, and I would be amiss if I did not acknowledge that. It now becomes my very happy duty indeed to welcome Governor Cahill here. Certainly he needs no introduction. We all know of his legislative and legal career, of his practice of law, of the fact of his wonderful family of 8 children, of his record in Congress, and of the fact that we now are delighted to have him here to see the results of our labors. Since becoming governor in 1969, I think I should state that he has stressed education, and we thank him for it, and the development of the Meadowlands, and the modernization of transportation, and drug rehabilitation. As you all know, he has been quite influential and successful in getting the Port of New York Authority to recognize that there is a state of New Jersey along with the state of New York. It's been quite a record, and it is with the deepest sense of sincerity and honor that I now present to you the governor of the state of New Jersey, Governor Cahill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark, President Potter, Chancellor Duncan, members of the clergy, distinguished guests on the platform, members of the faculty, students and friends of Ramapo College. Today, as far as this governor is concerned, marks another wonderful day in his term as governor, coming as it does immediately after a similar day spent in Atlantic County. I need not tell any of you that if this administration is ever to accomplish its aim as announced at its inaugural almost 2 years ago, namely to achieve in the state of New Jersey an era of excellence, that can only be achieved by more and other days like today, when we make a commitment as we are making today to education. And so I am indeed honored and delighted to be with you today at this dedication of the newest educational facility in the state of New Jersey, the beginnings of which augur well for its future success. For indeed, under the leadership of Mr. Clark and all of the members of the Board of Trustees and under the able direction of President George Potter, this college has indeed made a speedy and auspicious start on what I know will be a glorious road to greater knowledge for the greater number of students of this area. I'm delighted to be here at this day of dedication. Dedication of physical facilities. But more importantly, it seems to me, dedication of the spirit. Dedication of a dedicated president, dedicated faculty, who will bring to hopefully a group of dedicated students the knowledge that only they can shape the future of our state and our nation. New Jersey has a long way to go. New Jersey has been far behind in many fields, but none farther behind than in the field of higher education. Because of the vision and leadership of my predecessor, Governor Richard J. Hughes, and the wisdom of the citizens of our state who approved under his leadership the 1968 bond issue, this college is now a reality. I would merely call to mind as a dramatic demonstration of how far our state has come in a very short period of time the fact that in 1968 we had only 51,800 students attending the public colleges of the state of New Jersey. And at the end of 1973, at the time when the 1968 bond money will have been fully expended, we will have achieved 104,000 students in our public colleges. And I hope, therefore, that the present governor can demonstrate the same type of leadership as his predecessor, and that the citizens of our state will listen with the same kind of attention and willingness to sacrifice this year when we recommend an additional bond issue of $155 million for the purposes of improving and expanding higher education in the state of New Jersey, so that at the end of 1975 we will have 126,700 students. In a very short period of time, under the leadership of Chancellor Duncan, New Jersey has made rapid strides in the field of higher education. We have now merged our two medical schools into a viable, active organization that has already doubled the enrollment of medical students and dental students, and hopefully in the years ahead will double them again, so that we can bring to the citizens of our state the medical delivery that they so sorely need. This is by way of saying that today is a great day for New Jersey, and that today indicates to me that we are making another giant step into the future. I hope that all of you here, and I hope all of our citizens that may read these words, will support this bond issue, so that we can make room for more young people to learn, and so that we can vote today to ensure tomorrow's future. There is no other way that I know to bring about the peace and the tranquility and the goodwill between peoples that can be achieved except the route through education. And so today, I say to you, Mr. President Potter, that God has endowed this institution with a natural beauty. The state of New Jersey has made its commitment through the generosity of its citizens. All of us are going to look at Ramapo with eyes that I am sure are going to be proud eyes, because we're going to see the natural beauty matched by the intellectual honesty, the progressive education under your leadership that will make all citizens of the state of New Jersey proud of Ramapo. I trust that as God has smiled on us today by the sunshine and the beauty of the day, He will continue to smile upon you, Mr. President, on your faculty, on your students, and on Ramapo College. Thank you all very much.
On behalf of all of us, Governor Cahill, I want to thank you for a truly inspiring talk. The next participant in this program is the person who has played a truly spectacular role in the creative work of the New Jersey higher educational system. State Chancellor of Higher Education, Ralph Duncan.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Governor, President Potter, members of the Board of Higher Education, legislators, faculty, students, friends, all of you. I stand before you feeling rather inadequate to describe my own reactions to this day of dedication. Others have told you or will about the time spent, the efforts expended by many people. My feeling, I think, is one of gratification, but even more so of thanks, appreciation, not only to those who've been directly involved in the enterprise, although Lord knows they deserve a tremendous credit, but to many others, my colleagues, for instance, in the institutions, public and private in this state, who are part of our system. And I also have a feeling of hope, as well as one of gratitude and appreciation. Hope and sincere confidence that the students and the faculty, under the leadership of President Potter and the Board of Trustees, will truly make this institution what it obviously is on the way to becoming, an excellent institution in the New Jersey system. I'm grateful to all of you for your help, and I pledge to you my support for as long as I'm here in the days ahead. Thank you ever so much.
I now present Dr. John Robert Cassidy, Dean of the Schools of Ramapo College of New Jersey.
My colleagues and friends, the Carnegie Commission reported the other day that after 2 decades of unprecedented growth, the national demographic trends indicated that college populations will level off in the next 10 years and decline perhaps in the 1980s. Concentrating on accommodating themselves to a burgeoning population and unprecedented demands on their facilities, the nation's colleges and universities have had little time to heed the evils of overextending themselves. With little more as a guide than the success of their smaller pre-World War II colleges, the working assumption has been that these same institutional structures, writ large, would serve these new populations with the added benefits of the economies of scale. However, the student upheavals of the last 5 years have made so clear that this assumption was a faulty one. In a society where the traditional structures are increasingly unable to accommodate themselves to the feeling and needs of man, college institutions which are small enough to enable the student to identify himself are an increasing necessity. And yet at the same time, due to budgetary and other fiscal constraints, the economies of scale must somehow be preserved. The opening of Ramapo College comes at a most fortuitous juncture, since the wisdom garnered from reflection on the last 20 years of growth and the last 5 years of criticism can be applied to the development of this college. Ramapo will move rapidly towards a total population of 7,500 students. Ever aware, however, of the need to educate the student as an individual with his own personal lines of development. The Board of Trustees of Ramapo College 2 years ago was most fortunate to make contact with George Potter through his friend Roger Hines, now the chairman of the American Council on Education, and then the chancellor at the University of California at Berkeley. If there is any one word which describes George Potter, it is educator. He has a clear sense of the changes which must be brought about in young people and the processes for implementing them. Mr. Potter is a man of consummate energies with a clear mind revealed in his precise sense of the English language. He is a man of practical intelligence who, most importantly, has an open mind to the needs of contemporary young people. Mr. Potter was born in London, England in 1927 and naturalized as an American citizen in 1968. He received an M.A. degree in politics, philosophy, and economics from Oriel College, Oxford University in 1955. He comes to Ramapo from a variety of academic positions in England, Canada, and most recently as the Vice President for Academic Affairs at Grand Valley State College in Michigan. At this critical point in the reform of higher education in the United States, the state of New Jersey is most fortunate to have George Potter as the president of this college. I am happy to recall Robert Clark to the podium to invest Mr. Potter as the founding president of Ramapo College.
Potter, by virtue of the authority vested in me as first chairman of the Board of Trustees of Ramapo College of New Jersey, I hereby bestow upon you this medallion as a symbol of your election as president of the college. On behalf of the Board of Higher Education and our Board of Trustees and the faculty and the students, I wish you every success in this new responsibility. Congratulations, George.
Governor Cahill, Chancellor Dungan, members of the State Board, board members, faculty, students, and friends of Ramapo College. What do you do when a president has already been around for 2 years without an official inauguration? You say, well, he has gone through an ordeal by fire, and let us therefore take the inauguration for granted. Or do you wait until you see the full results of his labors when the first class graduates? Various procedures are adopted by the many new colleges that have fortunately been established in recent years. In this case, here I am, newly inaugurated in the first term of operation of what we plan to be a fine new college of higher learning. In choosing to proceed with this ceremony at this time, I believe that we have decided, on the one hand, to pay tribute to all the individuals and organizations that have brought the college into being, and, on the other hand, to reaffirm a commitment to the goals that have been established for Ramapo. I certainly see it as my responsibility as president to keep these goals clearly in mind and to strive endlessly for their achievement. In his welcoming remarks, our founding chairman, Bob Clark, has already expressed his thanks to several groups who helped to bring the college into being, so I shall not go over the same ground to any great extent. I must, however, express special thanks to the board and the Department of Higher Education. Under the leadership of Chairman Boer and Chancellor Dungan, these authorities have made it possible for us to establish our own institutional identity, and they have shown great understanding of the problems of coming into operation. When I talk later on of the various non-traditional patterns and procedures that we have undertaken to introduce at Ramapo, it should be remembered that these authorities are responsible for the overall framework of public higher education within the state, and that they have encouraged us to take every advantage of the unique opportunity that we have to develop new approaches to higher education within the statewide system. They have shown confidence in our plans, and I have no doubt that we shall continue to receive their support for well-conceived additions to our policies and programs, because they share our interest in improving and extending higher educational opportunities for students throughout New Jersey. May I also comment some more on the contribution of the Office of the State Treasurer and the Division of Building and Construction, our architects, and our contractors, who have worked together in a quite remarkable way to get us into operation this year. When it became evident that we would not be ready on time using traditional methods of construction, they moved ahead with new approaches that would permit a more rapid development of well-designed facilities. I believe they have shown emphatically that the state can match in other fields the creativity that we are demonstrating in the field of higher education. Collectively, these various offices and departments of government have fulfilled the mandate approved by the people to bring Ramapo into being. I have no doubt, to echo Governor Cahill and Chancellor Dungan's remarks, that we shall continue to enjoy their cooperation as we move ahead with the next phase of growth scheduled for support from the new bond issue that is on the ballot in November. A vote of thanks is also due to Mary Patrick, formerly Mary Birch, who has been most gracious throughout more than a year of negotiations for the acquisition of her family home as the focal point for the development of the college. It is a great pleasure to me that we seem finally to have reached a settlement on this matter, and I hope that this will be officially confirmed in the very near future. Last in line in this list of acknowledgements, and more important of all in many ways, is the support we have received from the students who have enrolled in the college and from their parents who have echoed their enthusiasm for Ramapo. This enthusiasm and confidence in the new college has been a source of inspiration to myself and the faculty over these years of planning and preparation. And as we come into operation, we acknowledge a great responsibility to live up to the promises that we have made along the way. With this final acknowledgement, I must now move on to a discussion of our objectives and to a review of ways whereby we may accomplish these objectives in the years ahead. Conscious of the criticisms that have been leveled at higher education in recent years, we have resolved to come up with some constructive responses to the problems that have been identified. These criticisms have come from all sides. Students have complained that programs are outmoded and unrelated to their interests. Faculty members have questioned the possibility of maintaining academic standards in an age of open admissions. Governments have faced increasing budgetary requests with dismay and have demanded new levels of economy and accountability. Many members of the general public have observed with concern an apparent decline in the manners and morals of college students and have rallied behind stern leadership in handling disciplinary questions on campus. Clearly, we cannot take all of these problems entirely onto our own shoulders, although we can become part of the answer rather than part of the problem. For instance, students today are concerned about a wide range of problems. They are not particularly upset about minor irritations on the campus. These matters can easily be resolved through due process and a fair administration of rules and regulations. They are trying to reach solutions to the wider problems that face society. Problems of poverty, racial segregation, and war. We can hardly fail to acknowledge their valid interest in these concerns, and we must expect some emotional expression of this interest when dramatic events occur on the national scene. One way for us to build on this interest is to ensure that our courses offer real opportunities to collect the facts of a situation and to make sure that any proposals for corrective action are carefully reviewed. If one of our goals is to graduate human beings capable of intelligent, responsible action, then we must accept this as an instructional opportunity. And although we acknowledge that the college as an institution is not organized for political activism, we cannot demand that our students be politically sterile or disinterested during the course of their studies. In my administration at Ramapo, therefore, there will be a tolerance of dissenting views and the expectation that, just as in former ages in the great universities of the world, the students will dispute before dinner, at dinner, after dinner, in public and in private, in all places and at all times. In addition, just to keep the record straight, there will be a further expectation that these disputes will be intellectual rather than physical, and that everyone will acknowledge the need to work within legal procedures in the pursuit of their goals. Perhaps the greatest features of our heritage are the rule of law and the guarantee of due process in legal proceedings, and I trust that these will always be respected at Ramapo. For these reasons, it does not worry me that our new buildings have glass walls. Some people have commented on my optimism in this regard, but I have faith in our students and confidence in our ability to resolve our problems without resort to violent tactics. It has been said that the contemporary college student should have a contemporary curriculum. How contemporary can we be at Ramapo? Can we ensure that our programs are responsive to student interests and needs? Clearly, we cannot expect today's students to stand by while others make vital decisions affecting the quality of their future lives. The pace of events is too rapid for them to be content to wait for their term of office. If they do not take an interest now, it may be too late. So we encourage them in their interest, but we shall not encourage them to run like cub reporters to the scene of every incident. They need a new opportunity to come to terms with the complex world around them. They need a sense that their studies are contemporary and are relevant. This is one reason why we have adopted an interdisciplinary basis for our academic programs and, at the same time, have retained the requirement that everyone must define and complete a major program of study as one of the steps toward graduation. The emphasis on interdisciplinary and independent programs of study will, we hope, permit students and faculty to be more imaginative than would be possible within the limits of strictly departmental majors. We shall not offer inflexible program requirements because we have always done it this way in this field. Nor shall we establish new, rigid formulae that must be followed in every case. In this way, we shall permit greater freedom of choice for the student in course selection and thus provide for the more immediate element of relevancy. At the same time, through recruiting faculty who have fulfilled the rigorous demands of PhD or other terminal degree programs and who have a high regard for scholastic standards, I believe we can ensure that other elements of relevancy, such as historical precedent and informed analysis, will not be ignored. Basic to the matter of relevancy and to the matter of interdisciplinary programs is the question, relevant to whom? Something that is relevant for me may not be of interest to you. Similarly, although science may have much to say in one person's analysis of a problem, a quite different discipline may be called on in a second person's analysis of the same problem. We recognize differences of this kind at Ramapo through the process of decentralization. We are not one school, we are 5 or more different schools in one. In this way, we can take heed of different notions of what is relevant, and as a result of our many-sided approach to problems in our different schools, we hope to reach a more complete understanding of these problems as they are presented. Another virtue of our organization into schools is that even as we grow to significant size, our students will not be left on their own to organize a coherent educational program from what might seem to be a bewildering variety of choices and perspectives. Help will be near at hand in the form of their tutors and fellow students who will share a sense of community and a common interest in learning. Thus, although the schools may grow at different rates and take on quite different internal organization as time passes and development proceeds, it will remain possible to retain the intimacy that has always characterized good undergraduate education. Just how we shall preserve this face-to-face contact at Ramapo and make it educationally productive is perhaps the most significant question before us as we move ahead with plans for the instructional program. We feel that this contact can be of great importance. However, if it is to be worthwhile, it must be well organized and subject to thorough evaluation. To this end, we have devised our tutorial plan, whereby every student is assigned to work with a faculty member individually and in small groups. It is the tutor's responsibility to get to know the interests and abilities of the students in his small group and to assist them in their learning activities. It is the student's responsibility to take full advantage of their tutor's availability, to regard them as teacher, philosopher, ombudsman, or friend, depending on the quality of confidence that is established over time. Academic credit has been assigned to this tutorial relationship to acknowledge that work of this kind is educationally significant and that it will take up time that would otherwise be devoted to other instructional activities. In theory, this approach can be most helpful in establishing a stronger bond between the students and faculty. Our evaluation of tutorial work at the college will thus need to be most comprehensive. If it is successful, then others in the field will be eager to analyze the facts that underlie this success. If it fails to meet our expectations, then we shall need to know the reasons why. In any case, this part of our program will be studied with great interest by all concerned teachers and academic program planners. Finally, in reference to relevancy, which although it is now an overused term, still raises up the key question as to whether or not college programs are responsive to student needs and interests, I must note that the admission of student representatives into membership of our policy recommending bodies should itself be a part of the instructional plan of a college which has our aims and objectives. Students involved in the work of these governance structures at Ramapo will find this in itself a fine learning experience. Of more importance, however, will be the fact that all students will come to feel a part of the decision-making process. Thus I can say to every Ramapo student here today that although you will not enjoy final authority, your comments will be heard and they surely will be heeded. Then, after you have influenced your own destinies within the college through discussion and consultation, I trust that you will decide to make similar use of the wider democratic process in seeking remedies to the problems of our society. Unlike some of my former colleagues over in England, I do not believe that more means worse. In fact, I am a firm advocate of the position that we should strive to make access to higher education open to all segments of the population, and I believe that the achievement of this objective is a social necessity. We now live in an age in which lifelong learning is essential to every citizen. New discoveries and inventions are made every day. In 10 years, much of our knowledge is virtually obsolete. New world problems emerge, and new economic difficulties arise. In these circumstances, education is the lifeblood of democratic action. Hence, I regard it as an obligation to open our door wide and to keep our programs up to date. This does not mean that Ramapo College must become all things to all men. It does not mean that we alone must adopt an open admissions policy. What it does mean is that we must play a distinctive part in a statewide program of educational opportunity. We must be prepared to accept students from a wide range of educational backgrounds. Then we must accept the obligation of assisting every admitted student to improve his or her knowledge and skills. Hopefully, this means that all our students will eventually meet our requirements for graduation, but this is perhaps over-optimistic. In cases where students reach a plateau after a year or two and seem unable to complete the requirements immediately, then we must develop a procedure that lets them out of school for an indefinite time without leaving them with the feeling of having dropped out. In the process, however, we should not be tempted to dilute the meaning of college graduation. Such a fraudulent practice would be the greatest disservice to students and to society. Let us instead be as specific as possible in defining the graduation requirements of each institution, and let us not make graduation the only learning objective. In these ways, I believe that we can hold our doors open to a wide range of students without neglecting proper academic standards. The college, then, must be open to all who can benefit from its programs. It must also, I believe, offer these programs at times that will be convenient for many part-time students who may be unable to register as full-time, daytime students. If learning is indeed a lifelong process, then we must prepare to serve the needs of the older student. We have made a start in this regard in our evening program and in our plans for a Saturday college. There is still a long way to go, however, and I am personally most encouraged with the willingness of the Department of Higher Education to promote plans for the support of part-time students on the same funding basis as that followed in making state funds available for full-time, daytime students. With this kind of support, we can indeed look forward to offering a full program of service to the community. Now a word about accountability. As the Chief Executive Officer of a public college, I accept completely and without reservation the requirements of public audit and public accountability. I am eager to introduce efficient managerial systems and budgetary procedures. I have no reservations in exploring year-round operation and other procedures to improve our utilization of facilities, and I hope that these will contribute to lower costs. Supervised programs and specialized programs in urban centers that do not require the construction of permanent facilities. All of these approaches seem to hold great promise for the future, and I look forward to working with the Department of Higher Education to secure their success. Another aspect of accountability involves quality control. We have major responsibilities in this aspect of interest. As we develop our programs at Ramapo, and as we develop evaluative procedures to apply to these programs, we must be ready to make firm decisions as to the best ways to make use of our resources. If existing programs can be shown to be of substantial quality, their continuation should be assured. If they lack quality or are otherwise failing in their objectives, then they must be terminated. This will be a time of great debate in the college. Perhaps we shall decide to phase out costly or less popular programs despite their philosophical appeal. Perhaps we shall have to devote greater resources to programs with more popular appeal. I trust, however, that when we come to discuss these problems, we shall not be moved by mere immediate considerations, and that the long-term consequences of each decision will be carefully explored. Although I have now mentioned the various areas of criticism noted earlier in this address, I have still made little reference to specific features of our plans for the college. The emphasis on internship opportunities in many areas of study, our novel grading practices, and the variety of procedures summed up in the phrase, less time, more options. Although these are important, they are not indispensable to the program, and our plan can succeed. We shall achieve our major educational objectives even if some of these features pass out of view in the course of time, as is the case with many innovations in higher education. There is a tendency in higher education for innovative or non-traditional methods to be short-lived. Somehow or other, academic man always tends to revert to type. In my role as president, I will work with you all, students and faculty alike, to resist this tendency. I believe that in the initial selection of an enterprising faculty and an alert body of students, we have guarded against an early onset of hardening of the academic arteries. But we must not be complacent. I shall continue to search for alternatives to the procedures featured in our initial programs, and I shall be ready to work with you to change these procedures if they fail to serve our purposes. For this reason, I hope that all members of the academic community will be ready to come forward with new ideas as and when they come into mind. Not every idea will be practicable. Some will not even make sense to anyone but their authors. In every case, I shall welcome an initial presentation of the suggestion. I shall look for its discussion in established units of college governance, and I shall be glad to become its advocate if it truly represents a step towards the maintenance of that vigorous and refreshing approach to liberal education that we have undertaken to feature at Ramapo. In the final analysis, indeed, this approach becomes almost a part of the definition of our objective. For how would it be possible to accomplish our goals if this lively spirit ever disappeared from the scene? Ramapo College looks to the future. Though responsive to traditional values, its goals will be to prepare graduates for the life that lies ahead. World perspectives change over the years, and new technological developments dictate new employment opportunities and community needs. So Ramapo intends that her graduates will not become obsolescent in their knowledge or attitudes. Thus, emphasis is laid on intellectual independence, thorough analysis of practical problems, and the acceptance of lifelong education as a personal objective. These are our goals, generally stated, and it will be in terms of specific contributions to these objectives that we shall conduct periodic reviews of our progress in the years ahead. Next, I would like to acknowledge a great debt to the Board of Trustees of the College, who appointed me 2 years ago and who have been a great support in the development of our plans to date. I have no doubt that they will continue to play a vital role as we move ahead to greater achievements in the future, and I am sure that all of our students and staff will come to appreciate them more fully as we come together to review policy proposals and to resolve problems as and when they arise. As an example of the care that our board members have taken to indicate the variety of problems they have tackled, I would particularly like to acknowledge today the contribution made by one member of the founding Board of Trustees, Mr. Don E. Carter, who unfortunately had to relinquish his place on the board when he moved to Georgia to become executive editor of the Macon Telegraph and News. The sentiments that I express in this acknowledgement of Mr. Carter's contribution convey my thanks to him personally, and they also indicate generally the variety of ways in which the trustees come to participate in the life of the college. Unfortunately, Don Carter is not here in person today, but I did want this testimonial to be a part of this occasion. So I'll read as follows the testimonial that will be delivered to Mr. Carter in the very near future. Don E. Carter. As a founding member of the Board of Trustees of Ramapo College of New Jersey, from February 1969 to May 1971, you made an outstanding contribution to this new center of higher learning. Your knowledge of the community was of major value in the search for a site. Your concern for students was a decisive factor in the development of our academic policies and programs. Your demand for outstanding quality in design and performance was always a challenge and an inspiration as we planned our first facilities. In recognition of these great services to the college, we are proud to present you with this testimonial on the occasion of the dedication of the college, Wednesday, October 20th, 1971. Finally, a cup of personal reflections. The first addressed to my wife, Margaret, and to the children, Beth, Ralph, and Simon, who have given me such great support in the past 2 years of planning and development. I am delighted that you are all here today to share in this honor, and I know how happy you all are to celebrate this occasion. I'm pleased also to share this moment with Bob Clark, our founding chairman, who has honored me today in presiding over this ceremony. And I would like at this point to address some comments to him personally. In our 2 years of cooperation, there has been one recurrent point of disagreement between us, a problem of emphasis. I trust that today, Bob, I have not raised too many controversies in my inventory of issues facing us in the future. Despite every difficulty, we did open essentially on schedule, and finally, everyone is becoming accustomed to my quaint spelling and my quaint punctuation. I suppose that I, too, am gradually becoming acclimatized to New Jersey, although I am determined to maintain some links with Great Britain, and I hope to retain at least a trace of my brogue. To this end, I was very pleased indeed to design for myself the medallion that you have bestowed on me today. Central to the design is the insignia of my old Oxford College and the words, "I serve," which are to me a constant reminder of my responsibilities and opportunities as president of the college. I intend to serve you well. Thank you.